It's the results for 6 million Hoosiers that I believe are not acceptable.
Also in Evansville, Daniels gets behind a local doctor's website that provides one source for information on discounted prescription drugs.
I can't wait to embrace this system and take it statewide.
For a guy who spent most of his working life in the industry, it's taken him a long time to come up with anything. And here we've got something that sounds like it's just a duplication of the kind of information that you can get from Medicare.gov.
All of them at once.
And making sure your vote counts, the election office tested its M100 absentee ballot counter.
We run our ballots through and then it tabulates what the ballot said, and then we look at our tape and see how many votes we have when we're done.
Hundreds of Vanderburgh County voters have already registered to vote absentee. On the campaign trail, I'm Ben Jackie.
And for the latest election news, including candidate interviews, bios, and a chance for you to log your thoughts onto our weblog and much more, you can log on to 14wfie.com and click on the Bringing the Campaign Home banner. Indiana First Lady Maggie Kernan makes a stop in Evansville. Kernan presented a $148,000 grant to the city for a recreational trails program. The money will be used to restore the trail around Garvin Park Lake and for improvements to the Pigeon Creek Greenway Passage. Evansville officials are hoping to remind you of a silent killer this time of year. With the cooler temperatures, many tri-staters have turned on.
You're a fan of my Health Watch reports, and I know you are. You know, I showed you this story last year. It's a program created by internist Dr. Mark Graves of the Wellborn Clinic. He felt sorry for his patients burdened by the high cost of prescription drugs, so he created a website for them to gain easy access to manufacturers' discounts.
I no longer have to make that choice.
Hazel Carter says she was like many other Hoosiers who have to choose between a trip to the pharmacy or the grocery. Her prescription drugs used to cost more than $500 a month.
I was deeply depressed over it because I couldn't see any end in sight. And sooner or later, my visa was going to be maxed out. So then what do I do?
She went online to GravesRx.com and filled out the applications needed to take advantage of discounts already offered by drug companies. Her bill now?
$13.15 a month.
GravesRx.com is the brainchild of Dr. Mark Graves. And if Republican Mitch Daniels becomes governor, it will be the way all Hoosiers save money on prescriptions.
I discovered to my delight that even while our state government was asleep at the switch, a selfless doctor and his family, actually, here in Evansville, has basically done what I've been saying that we must do.
The first thing that I would say is, where have you been? For a guy who spent most of his working life in the industry, it's taken him a long time to come up with anything.
Governor Joe Kernan says he's going to stick with Hoosier RX, the program for low-income seniors created by the late Governor Frank O'Bannon. Paid for with money from the Tobacco Settlement Fund, card carriers can save up to 75% on the cost of their medications.
It's one of the things that has worked, and we've got more than 23,000 seniors that are currently enrolled in Hoosier RX. It's something that they can get at the cash register. They don't have to go online.
But if they want to, he says, they don't need to go to GravesRx.com, since everything they need is already on Medicare.gov. Governor Kernan says he would support the re-importation of drugs from Canada. His challenger, Mitch Daniels, said he would not. He says there are safety issues involved, and he says Canadians do not want it. And he says there's no need to do it anyway because the drugs will be cheaper on GravesRx.com. David?
Well, Shannon, what about this Medicare discount card we've heard so much about? Does it have a place in these programs?
Well, the GravesRx program would try to get that federal discount for you. As for the Hoosier RX program, you have to apply for the federal discount card separately, which apparently not a lot of Hoosiers are doing. The Mitch Daniels camp says only 8% of seniors have done it so far.
All right, thanks a lot, Shannon. Well, voters got a chance to practice on those new touchscreen machines before going to the polls. November 2nd, the election office opened its doors for this practice session, and so far, voters are giving the machines their endorsement.
All right. We had a terrific response in the spring, and we're even getting a better response in the fall. We have people coming into election office on a daily basis voting on the machines that did not vote in the spring, and they are just amazed at how easy and simple it was. And we've heard nothing but good, positive things.
The touchscreen machines replace the old punch card ballots used in the last general election. A follow-up now on that ultimate...
announced Tuesday that the city will cancel plans to build a wastewater treatment plant on the city's north side. Instead, the city will expand a current facility in an effort to save about $33 million. This is the spot where the proposed odorless, in fact, it's on the north side, odorless wastewater treatment facility was supposed to be built to treat 10 million gallons of wastewater on an average day. But now the city will expand the current wastewater treatment plant on the west side. The expansion will cost about $28 million, leaving money the city can spend on other projects.
And those would include approximately $2.3 million to address problems at B Slough, $16 million to address flooding and combined sewer overflow problems on the southeast side of Evansville, which has been the topic of ongoing discussions of our task force on the issue in the past several months.
The mayor hopes to have an expansion proposal completed in the next 90 days or so. Kentucky teachers have called off a strike plan for next week. Tuesday, the state's General Assembly passed a new health insurance plan for Kentucky state employees, meeting the teachers' demand. Hours later, a state teacher organization called off an October 27th strike. Governor Ernie Fletcher signed the plan into law about 9 o'clock last night. His original plan was met with a huge outcry. Teachers claimed it was too expensive. The new plan for next year lowers premiums, deductibles, and out-of-pocket expenses, plus employee premiums will be standardized across the state, not based on salary as the Fletcher plan was. Republican Mitch Daniels says if he's elected governor of Indiana, he'll take an Evansville doctor's prescription drug plan statewide. Daniels met with Wellborn Clinic Dr. Mark Graves Tuesday to endorse his web-based prescription drug plan. Graves, his wife, and 3 sons developed the website to help people find low-cost and free prescription drugs offered by U.S. drug makers. Graves says there's a surplus of promotional prescription drugs out there if you know where to look. He claims less than 10% of Americans take advantage of them. Dr. Graves says if the state supported its website, it could save Hoosiers hundreds of millions of dollars. Daniels feels it's a much better option than re-importing Canadian drugs, but his opponent says the plan is too little too late.
We got a state full of people who should be getting the same advantages, and we will take this and blow it up to statewide size.
The first thing I would say is, where have you been? For a guy who spent most of his working life in the industry, it's taken him a long time to come up with anything.
Dr. Graves says he'll keep pushing his prescription plan even if politicians don't pick it up. Zookeepers, police, and animal control officers followed 5 runaway wildebeest through a residential area in Fort Wayne Tuesday. The animals had escaped from the city's children's deductibles and out-of-pocket expenses, plus employees' premiums will be standardized across the state, not based on salary as the Fletcher plan was. An Evansville doctor's plan to provide affordable prescription drugs is at the center of the Indiana gubernatorial race. Republican Mitch Daniels is embracing the online prescription plan, but Democrat Governor Joe Kernan says it's too little too late. News Channel 7's Andy Schroeder has the story.
Dr. Mark Graves spent the last 3 years putting together a website to take advantage of millions of dollars in drug company giveaways. Giveaways he says most people just don't know about.
The money is there. Those things are just being unused, and so it breaks my heart when I see that less than 10% of people are availing themselves of these wonderful opportunities.
His wife and 3 sons all pitched in on the not-for-profit project. It tracks down free and discounted drug alternatives, giving patients and doctors a list of options to help them save. According to Dr. Graves, Hoosiers could save some $700 million a year using his program. That's money that would then become basically disposable income.
It will be a wonderful blessing for the people of this state if it gets used widely.
That's where Republican gubernatorial candidate Mitch Daniels comes in. He's embraced Dr. Graves' plan as a way to keep Hoosier medical costs down, calling it a much better option than relying on Canadian imports.
There will never be enough legitimate extra drugs in Canada to satisfy the U.S. market. And at best, we'll have people ripped off. They'll get useless drugs. In some cases, they may get dangerous substances.
Governor Joe Kernan has a different view on Canadian drugs.
I will support reimportation of drugs from Canada and other countries. I believe that we have an opportunity to come up with an Indiana solution.
Kernan says there's merit to Dr. Graves' plan, but scoffed at his competitors' interest in prescription drug coverage.
The first thing that I would say is, where have you been? For a guy who spent most of his working life in the industry, It's taken them a long time to come up with anything.
Political support or not, Dr. Graves says he will keep working to draw attention to this website and the potential savings it offers. Andy Schroeder, WTVW News Channel 7.
If you'd like to learn more about the discount drug searching site, there's a link at our website, which is WTVW.com. After 20 years of partnerships with the community, Habitat for Humanity took time out to thank its hundreds of volunteers in Evansville. At the 7th annual Recognition Dinner Tuesday, Habitat honored the sponsors, gift donors, and volunteers that make building homes in Evansville possible. Thanks to community partnerships, Habitat for Humanity has been able to make dreams come true.
You're watching News Watch 14 at 5 with Ann Comas, Stephanie Sylvie, and Storm Team meteorologist Jeff Lyons on 14 WFIE, the Tri-States news leader.
Introducing the all-new Dodge Dakota. It has a
At a fever pitch.
Discount Drugs, the preferred website of the governor-elect.
And season's greetings, pet picks for a good cause.
Live from 14 WFIE, the Tri-States news leader. This is News Watch 14 at 6.
Football and politics. Good evening, I'm David James.
I'm Ann Comas. The playoffs continue, and like election night, we'll soon find out who advances and who goes home.
One of the biggest games we're covering is the 3A Sectional Championship at Heritage Hills, where our tailgate party is underway. The Patriots hosting Mater Dei. The coach of Mater Dei is already a winner this week as the top vote getter in the race for an at-large seat on the Vanderburgh County Council. Ben Jackie reports on this coach, teacher turned politician.
I had to write some essays and present on a book that I've read. I had to find a speech and talk about the significance that speech had.
7 days.
I think I've had a quiz in about every subject this week.
Jenna Denstorf would rather forget.
And then I go straight from school to swim practice.
Seems rather unfair compared to Mike Gable's unforgettable week.
The Democrats are prevailing.
A councilman-elect Tuesday.
Maybe the people are ready for someone who's got a fresh voice to come in and do the job.
Coaching sectional competitors tonight.
Tonight's stress is much higher, I think, much higher level. Even though I very much had stress, I guess, on Tuesday, it was something I didn't feel like I could control very much as far as the outcome and how the people would vote. However, I think I have a direct hand on maybe getting the players ready.
But is Gable ready to tackle 4 jobs? History and government teacher, wrestling coach, football coach, and now freshman councilman.
Well, I think it's a valid question, and it's a concern I would think most people would have. But I'm really fortunate here at Mater Dei because I've got such great assistant coaches, and if there comes a time when maybe I'll have to be absent, I've got full confidence. And they might even do better without me at times. So
he pretty does a good job of separating his personal life from his coaching life.
Some parents, however, can't quite do the same.
Yeah, I've had a couple of calls about road repairs and things like that. So that'll be after January before you can call me.
Right now, Coach has a banner that needs updating for the 6th sectional title, possibly capping off a week.
This week's not yet over.
A lot better than Jenna's. In Evansville, Ben Jack, Newswatch 14, WFIE.
Mike Gable, a Democrat, won a council at-large seat along with Republican Marcia Abel and Democrat Troy Tornata. While Gable has won 10 state wrestling titles and 1 football title, this will be his first time that he carries the title of elected official.
The president of the Vanderburgh County Commission says she won't spend another dime on election equipment until there's an audit on its performance. Democrat Catherine Finello is calling for an independent company to look into the problems election night with ES&S voting equipment and tabulating machines. The clerk's office explained earlier this week that workers were pulling the ballots too soon, causing lockups on the Ivotronic. As a part of the nearly $3 million contract, the company is scheduled to perform an audit of its own.
That would be like the fox watching the hen house, and I do not want them, they can go ahead and perform their own audit if they want to, but I want an independent person coming in here and looking at that software and equipment. I heard too many complaints, too many machines broke down.
This Democratic Party is totally disorganized, couldn't get their paperwork together, and couldn't get their workers trained. And we have to use 50% Democrat workers at the polls, so 50% of the people weren't properly trained.
Finello says she must get approval from the commissioners before handing the complaint over to the county attorney. Finello did not seek re-election, and her term ends December 31st.
Police are looking for 4 Hispanic men accused of robbing an Owensboro taxi driver. Authorities say when the cab arrived in Henderson this afternoon, one of the passengers hit the driver over the head and took his wallet. Police say the men fled toward the Ohio River. If you have information on this case, please call the Henderson Police Department. Evansville police complete their 2-week investigation into possible neglect at the city's animal control shelter. And those findings have now been handed over to the Vanderburgh County prosecutor.
Last month, about 100 animals were euthanized after the Vanderburgh Humane Society visited the shelter and found dozens of animals deceased, some without food or water. About half were sick and the others were put down due to overcrowding.
So what's the outcome of that investigation? Kenan Oliphant joins us now from the animal shelter on Mulehorn Street with the latest. Kenan?
Yeah, David, and it's all in the hands of prosecutors now after Evansville police detectives presented their evidence into the conditions of the Evansville animal shelter. Now, detectives have named 2 suspects in this case who happen to be employees of the shelter. The recommendations that were made, well, cruelty to animals. Police believe this investigation will move forward.
Received a lot of publicity, so it is a little bit tougher to get witnesses to speak to us, but everyone's been cooperative, so hopefully the case will be resolved very soon.
Now, prosecutors are not releasing the names of the 2 suspects that they have until formal charges have been filed. Mayor Jonathan Weinzappel, in one of his traveling town hall meetings, has said that once he reviews the police investigation notes, he may make some changes into management and procedural changes into the shelter. David, Ann?
Well, I understand the conditions there have improved since those pictures were taken, right?
Yes, they have. In fact, two volunteers at the shelter today came in to take pictures. I asked them, I said, have you seen anything out of the ordinary here? They said no, they haven't, but they have seen some procedural changes here at the shelter.
Changes already taking place. All right, Kenan, thanks very much.
All right, thanks. And we move along now to our weather. No rain in sight as we head into the weekend.
Meteorologist Jeff Lyons is in our weather center tonight with a first look at the storm team forecast. Jeff?
And no complaints in sight either. We've deserved this nice weekend after kind of a gloomy week here across the tri-state. In fact, for the evening hours and overnight, we're looking for a low of about 38 with some scattered frost outside. And, well, here's the graphic. We can show that to you. If you're heading out, you can expect a little bit of scattered frost perhaps, although the best chance for that probably won't come until early next week. Current temperatures now around the area range from our highs today in the middle 50s down to the current readings in the upper 40s. So it is going to be brisk. Your furnace will have to kick on tonight if you want to stay warm. I'll have the rest of the storm team forecast for what you're going to be doing this weekend in just a few minutes.
We'll see you then. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. Well, it's a tale of 2 campuses. The University of Evansville on the east side of town and the University of Southern Indiana on the west side. Tonight, a look at the hype and the hoopla on the eve of the big game at Roberts Stadium. Jason Bizo reports.
USI, no competition. USI going down hardcore. The excitement is building on both campuses.
It's crazy. The whole town's talking about it. I mean, on campus, off campus, on the radio, on TV.
Students are really pumped up. I know students and faculty and administrators and even the trustees have been waiting for this game forever.
Some even thought pigs would fly before these schools would battle it out for bragging rights on the basketball court.
It's going to start a rivalry, I think. I'm really excited about that, though.
Who's going to win? The University of Southern Indiana. Each school had around 600 shirts made for the big game.
The T-shirts in the bookstore, they sold out like within a day or two, and we ordered more. We actually ordered 100 extras, and then those were gone within another day or two also. At U of E, students are already cheering for the Aces. While at USI, students are working on doing a little dance.
Earlier this year, whenever we went to cheerleading camp, the mascots learned a skit and a little spirit dance routine, and so we're going to do both of those for the crowd, just to get them laughing and excited, just to see the crazy Eagles shake our tail feathers.
There are even some friendly wagers on the big game.
Well, my brother went to UE, so we have a car wash bet to see whoever wins will have to wash the other person's car, I guess. So.
This squirrel might think all these fans are just nuts, but both say they have the loudest fans in town.
If you've ever been to a game at the PAC,
It's just the energy is crazy.
We're going to be bigger and louder.
In Evansville, UE's going to dominate tomorrow. Jason Beisel. Go Eagles! Newswatch 14, WFIE.
And both schools plan tailgate parties outside Roberts Stadium before the game. Tip-off 7:05 Saturday night, and that game is sold out.
I'm rooting for the hometown team.
Oh, good job.
Next on Newswatch, the search for cheaper prescription drugs in Indiana just got easier with the help of a local doctor and the governor-elect.
It's our Health Watch report. Stay with us.
You're watching Newswatch 14 at 6 with David James, Ann Comas, meteorologist Jeff Lyons, and Mike Blake Sports on 14 WFIE, the Tri-State's news leader.
This portion of Newswatch 14 is brought to you by Rogers Jewelers. Rogers Jewelers, featuring the Promise Collection, the area's largest selection of engagement and wedding rings with over 500 to choose from.
Your first kiss, your first love, for then and now, for always. At Rogers, we make your dreams come true.
At the new Rogers, we have the finest selection of wedding rings and engagement rings.
Two hearts, one love.
The perfect day deserves the perfect ring from Rogers Jewelers.
At Rogers, we make your dreams come true.
Everyone knows that when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, nothing can hold you back. Clayton's Fine Dry Cleaning knows that feeling your best means more than success. It means investing in a better future. With a new Pure Dry system, you can be confident that looking good is good for the environment, too. With Clayton's, the future looks brighter than ever. Look good, feel good. Clayton's Fine Dry Cleaning.
When the world's just waking up, I'm already out on the road. There's the Beckers. Our kids play ball together. That's the new industrial park we just built lines into. If you work for a local electric co-op, you're part of the community, just like everybody else. You make every customer feel like they own the business you work for. Because in an electric co-op, they do.
Shine as one.
If your body's main artery ruptures, you will almost certainly be dead within minutes. If you're lucky, you'll be near an emergency room ranked among the nation's top 10%. Paul Jenkins made it to Methodist Hospital of Henderson, Kentucky. He's feeling lucky every new day.
If you haven't tried Fazoli's delicious new My Pizza, you don't know what you're missing. They're just good. It's just,
Fazoli's has flavor. It's bold. You can taste it.
Stop by Fazoli's today and enjoy our My Pizza combo. Pepperoni and a drink for $4.99. Or any gourmet flavor and a drink for only $1 more, including new Deli Supreme. Try My Pizza.
Fast, fresh, friendly.
Yeah. Try Fazoli's new grilled chicken platter with only 7 grams of fat.
When Governor-elect Mitch Daniels takes office in January, Hoosier seniors and low-income patients will have a new way to find cheaper prescription drugs.
They can search online with the help of a website created by an Evansville doctor and his son, but that site will likely undergo some changes between now and then. The health team, Shannon Sampson, here with this story.
The doctor started this to help his patients, and now it's taken on a life of its own. Candidate Mitch Daniels found out about GravesRx.com after reading a news release about how the site was in need of funding. He embraced the idea after a meeting last month with the site's creator. And now the hope is, as Governor Mitch Daniels, he will make the site more widely available and more user-friendly. Internist Mark Graves may have conceived GravesRx.com, but he'll have no problem handing it over to the state of Indiana when Mitch Daniels becomes governor.
It was a feeling of relief that there is somebody in a position of authority who is going to make something happen.
Relief because his 22-year-old son Chris was spending nearly all of his free time at Northwestern University maintaining the site. But more so, he says, is the fact that more low-income patients will be able to use this search engine to take advantage of drug discounts offered by manufacturers. That's very different from the existing GravesRx program created by the late Governor Frank O'Bannon. Funds from the tobacco settlement offset the cost of prescriptions, but Dr. Graves says his patients often find that money tops out at $1,000 or so. Plus,
once you sign up for anything that includes GravesRx, none of these programs will give you any free drug.
yet some patients in certain income brackets would be better off sticking with GravesRx. Dr. Graves hopes once the state takes over his site, it will have a feature on it that will be able to help patients find the best deal, whether it be GravesRx, GravesRx, or Medicaid. Also, instead of having to fill out several applications, he's hoping the state will streamline them into one simple form.
You can then have a doctor-friendly system that physicians will embrace, and that is a very important piece to making something not only widely available but widely utilized.
And since it's online, he's hoping the state will appoint workers to visit community centers to walk seniors through the various steps. Making it more widely available. Governor-elect Mitch Daniels isn't working on improving the website just yet. Instead, he scheduled a reunion tour for the early part of next week, taking another road trip in the RV he campaigned in to thank voters all over the state. You would think he'd never want to step foot in that thing ever again, but I guess this is a victory lap for him.
All right, thanks, Shannon.
I wonder how many times he changed the oil in that RV.
I don't know. The gas prices?
Wow. Well, what do we got here? We got our traffic cam on the west side, and Jeff has our storm team forecast as we head into, looks like a pretty good weekend.
Stocks continue their week-long rally today. Here a look